Haruzetan Nuruz, Nuruzetan Piruz.
Shoma Mubarak.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
We choose truth over facts.
It's so clear now that the whole vote blue no matter who line is a total con job designed to quash any dissent so that they can fully shove any neoliberal corporatist nonsense down our throats, whether
That's such a great campaign slogan. Swallow it and vote for Joe.
That's a lot of damage.
Can't touch this. So hello and welcome back to the show. This episode is going to be shot in one take. A take is a recording you make when you're trying to make something. So if you're making music or a movie or video, whatever it is, you turn on your equipment, you start recording, and then you go on, you do your thing, and then you stop recording. And that clip that was just saved, that thing you just made, it's called a take. So when you're looking at documentaries about how they make stuff, they say, scene 1, take 2, action. Scene 1, take 3, action. You can take as many takes as you need. Kubrick once shot 127 takes for something because he wanted to make it just perfect. And of course, you can do one take like I'm going to do. One take is particularly challenging because, I make mistakes like everyone else, and not exactly language mistakes, but just speech mistakes. I say stuff that I don't really mean, or I say stuff where later when I'm editing and I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck did I just say? So I'm not quite Joe Biden yet. I'm a long way from Joe, but I'm not exactly not Joe Biden either, right? So I think there's a little Joe Biden in all of us, and there's a lot of Joe Biden in me, which sucks. Anyways, I started with the idea of music and art and takes because I wanted to talk to you about the productive skills and particularly your sound system in language. So you see, here's wow. Sunlight just flooded my room with light. Let me reduce the exposure on my camera. See, this is one of the problems with fucking... There we go. With doing one take. Normally, I would cut that part out, but this is a one take challenge, so I'm just going to keep going. Anyways, compare movies with theater. For a movie, if you make a mistake or something, or if the director thinks something isn't just perfect, then you can just do it again. You can cut, do it again, edit it, put them together, make the movie as if nothing was cut, right? On stage, when you're doing theater, you don't have that luxury. So you need to know what you're doing through and through. You need to do it. You need to know it so thoroughly that you don't make mistakes like that. Now, the thing with language is like any other skill, particularly the part where your mouth works. So how you speak, how you pronounce things, how you utter stuff is a completely physical skill. It takes just a few seconds to figure out how a word should be pronounced. The brain processes it like no problem. But the mouth needs a lot of practice to perform it. So just like a theater actor needs to go through her lines over and over and over to be able to provide them efficiently and without mistakes and without, thinking too much or pausing too much or whatever, you need to practice your sound system a lot. Now, this is something that really makes me sad as someone who's been teaching for a long time because I can't get people to do it. People who want to do it, and people who don't want to do it, don't do it. And no matter how much I emphasize the importance of it, and no matter how much I explain it, they simply don't want to do it. And I'm acutely aware that people who watch this video may not do it either. As a matter of fact, most of you won't do it. A small number of you will do it, and that small number will get excellent results from it in a relatively short amount of time. So what am I talking about? See, if you want to wait, let me back up a little bit. Bruce Lee, I think, said that I'm not afraid of someone who knows 1,000 kicks, but I'm afraid of someone who's practiced the same kick 1,000 times. That's the idea. You need to take, say, 100 words and repeat each of them with correct pronunciation. By that, I mean listening and repeating 1,000 times. Repeat each of them 1,000 times. By that point, you will become pretty much Mike Tyson at pronouncing those words. You'll be so good at them that they become some kind of automated habit kind of thing that your mouth just does on its own. And at that point, look, I'm not thinking right now about how to say that. You know, it's not a challenge for me to get my tongue out here and say that. Now, the idea isn't that I'm some kind of alien genius kind of thing. The idea is that I've said that so many times that it's just, you know, yeah, you get the idea. So exercise and repetition certainly enables you to create sounds perfectly. And your sound system is really important. Your sound system also feeds into your listening skill. You know, if you pronounce something wrong and you just go on like that, your brain thinks the correct pronunciation is what you're doing. And so when you're listening to someone else speak, you're listening for them to say what you say, right? So take the word squirrel. If you have trouble pronouncing the word squirrel, you will almost certainly, there are exceptions, but you will almost certainly have trouble hearing the word squirrel too, because you don't know the correct pronunciation of squirrel, and your mind is looking for something that you would say, not what they say. So that's the other problem with bad pronunciation, is that it's language. You know, it's not painting. It's not music. You can't not know it, but then hear it and know it. You either know it both ways, reflectively, or you don't know it. So, in your mind, there is this sound data bank where there are letters, symbols, images, all that stuff, and they're associated with sounds. So when you see the letters of the word squirrel on paper or on your screen, or when you see a squirrel, like a picture or an actual squirrel, in your mind that thing is brought out of the bank. It's like the file is pulled out of the library, and you're ready to say it, and you're ready to hear it. Now, if that file is squirrel, then when I say squirrel, you'll get it. If that file is something else, if you're pronouncing it some other way, and by that I mean a way that isn't correct, I don't mean in another correct accent, no, I mean an incorrect way, then you're looking for me and others to say it your way, which isn't exactly correct. And so when we don't do that, you have difficulty understanding us. So in every language book that I've ever taught, and in all of them really, there are these sections that are titled usually, you know, listen and repeat or something like that. People don't take these seriously at all. Like there are advanced level learners, you know, C1 level learners, for example, and they haven't done it. Like coming up from basic books to advanced books, they haven't done these listen and repeat exercises at all. Or maybe they've done them just a little bit and then passed over them. And so as a result, you get someone who is incredibly knowledgeable with the language, with grammar, vocabulary, idioms, phrases, cultural information that lets them understand the language better. And they've seen so many movies and, you know, so many series and all that, but still something isn't quite right about the way they enunciate stuff, about the way they reproduce stuff, right? So the antidote to that is listening and repeating, right? You need to stop taking your mouth for granted and start treating it like what it is. It's a musical instrument. And like any other musical instrument, it takes just a few minutes to figure out by your head what you want to do with it. It's very easy to memorize, for example, a bunch of chords on any instrument. But actually playing those chords takes a lot of practice because your fingers are physical physical things, they have muscles, they have neurons, and these muscles and neurons need to be trained, right? So the performance must become part of your muscle memory. You must be so comfortable with the performance that it takes no processing power from you, right? So a speaker at any level, A2, B1, who has done adequate and sufficient listening and repeating practices won't need to think about every little thing they're saying. As a B1 level student of any language, you probably won't know a lot of words, sure. You won't know a lot of structures, sure. But the structures and words that you do know can be so familiar for you that it would take nothing from you to utter them, to just put them out there. And if you do this, if you do your practices completely, and maybe even do a little more than what your workbook has, you can be fluent in whatever you know. You know what I mean? So you're an A1 level learner, basic, beginner, you don't know a lot. But the things that you do know are now part of your muscle memory. So you can fluently and easily listen and speak whatever you know. Again, you get to A2, and if you do your exercises right, and if you do enough practice, you won't know a lot of that language, but the parts that you do know will be comfortably inside your range of muscle memory. And you'll be able to have a conversation at your own level effortlessly, right? So you have, 1,000 words at B1, 2,000 words, 5,000 words, whatever you have. Those words that you have already covered will become so easy for you that you're basically fluent. Like, you don't know a lot of things, but what you do know, you use effortlessly. And so if you're having a conversation with, say, a native or a learner who's at a higher level than you, you can literally tell them in that language that you don't understand their point. You can ask them in that language to explain it in simpler terms. And when they do that, you get it. And oh, yeah, by the way, doing this unlocks the use of target language dictionaries for you too. So if you're doing English, ideally you don't want to use translations. You want to use definitions, right? So they are two completely different things. A translation, as you know, is one word for one word, or a bunch of words for one word. And the problem is they hardly ever match, right? You give your dictionary any word and the equivalent of it is garbage, or there's like 5 equivalents for it and they're all garbage, unless the thing is so easy and commonsensical, So don't do translations if you can do definitions. Do definitions. Definitions are the right way to go. Definitions work in every field of knowledge or science, not just language. Definitions are the thing. Definitions are these sentences or phrases provided to explain to you what something is, rather than translated for you in your own language, which hardly ever matches it. So if you practice enough, and if you repeat what you know enough, you will at some point, and that point is very early, you will at some very early point be able to use actual dictionaries, where if you're doing English, the word is there in English, and then the definition is also there in English, rather than your mother tongue. And that's great because you get to translate it yourself too. Like, you look at a word, don't know what it is, look at the definition, and you go, it's that word. And then you'll be correct too, because you got the right idea. So that's it for this one take episode. I think I did okay. I had a little bit of pauses and stuff, but that's fine. See you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Work on your audio system. Listen and repeat a lot, as much as you can. And don't be ashamed to straight up imitate native speakers, okay? Act like them. Imitate them. It's completely fine.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.